Hi, welcome to Everything Education with Dr. Roz. This is episode 6 of season 1, and season 1 is titled Classroom Solutions. This particular episode is focused on questioning in the classroom. So, effective questioning is a powerful pedagogical tool that can transform the way that we teach and learn. By asking thought provoking questions, teachers can stimulate critical thinking, encourage active participation, and foster a deeper understanding of the subject matter. Questions can motivate learning, fuel curiosity, foster intellectual development, and assess understanding. Good questions open conversations, inspire deeper intellectual thought, and promote peer interaction. So we need to foster an environment where our learners feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and engaging in discussion. So what is the purpose of a question? This particular quote hits it right on the head. It says to be a little more abstract. A good question causes thinking, more questions, better questions. It clarifies and reveals. It causes hope. A bad question stops thinking. It confuses and obscures. It causes doubt. The author of this quote could not have said it any better. We are tasked with creating a more engaging and effective instructional environment that promotes critical thinking and active learning. We need our scholars to feel safe in our instructional environment. Inside of the classroom, they should feel like they can ask questions, make mistakes, and have peer interaction. Instructional questions are vital tools that drive engagement and they stimulate interest, check for understanding, and encourage deep thinking, reinforces the learning, and clarifies misconceptions. Ultimately, the goal with good questions is to encourage autonomy with our scholars. It's just not about finding the right answers, but about stimulating a deeper connection with the material and fostering a rich learning environment. That should ultimately be our goal. So, why are instructional questions important? Recent research highlights the importance of instructional questions in promoting student engagement and learning. Effective questions stimulate critical thinking, assess their understanding, and encourage that participation. Teachers should not spend more than a third of the classroom instructional time talking. The ultimate goal is for our scholars to be actively engaged and participating in the learning. We need to help our scholars connect new information to prior knowledge, foster their curiosity, and guide their discussions. Balancing teacher talk time with student talk time is critical for creating an interactive and supportive learning environment. Questions, good questions, help scholars through the learning process. So when we ask questions, it builds on their previous knowledge and connects their old knowledge to new knowledge. Our job is to help scholars construct a coherent understanding of the subject matter. This scaffolded approach supports deeper learning and better retention of information, which again is the goal. There are all sorts of types of questions. Questions vary in type and purpose. So when the lessons are being planned, the type of question is paramount. Ultimately, the common goal of all questions is to stimulate thought, discussion, and a deeper understanding. So, an open ended question requires scholars to explain their reasoning, compare ideas, and predict outcomes. Higher order questions, I love to use Costa's levels of questions. They require scholars to use advanced cognitive processes such as analyzing, evaluating, and creating rather than just recalling facts. Socratic questions. These types of questions promote critical thinking and dialogue by encouraging scholars to explore their beliefs and assumptions. Reflective questions encourage scholars to reflect on their learning experiences and processes. Probing questions, these questions dig deeper into scholars' responses and encourage further elaboration and clarification. Clarifying questions, they help to ensure understanding by asking for more information and more clarification. Factual questions, these types of questions check scholars' recall and understanding of key facts. Hypothetical questions, these questions encourage scholars to consider possibilities and what if scenarios. Divergent questions have multiple possible answers and encourage creative thinking. And finally, diagnostic questions. These identify scholars' prior knowledge and any misconceptions the scholar may have. So ultimately, remember that the common goal of any type of question, a good question in the learning environment, is to stimulate thought, discussion, and a deeper understanding. Making connections and thinking. We need our scholars to think. So making those connections, that involves linking new information to existing knowledge. This process enhances understanding, retention, and the ability to apply knowledge in various contexts. One effective method for this in making connections in the thinking is to use a concept map or a mind map. That's where the teacher will introduce the concept of the lesson, identify key components of the lesson, create connections that scholars can hear and see, encourage scholars to think about how these components are interconnected, and then link them to the content. Once the concept map or mind map is completed, you would have scholars, you would instruct them to work in small groups to create their own concept maps and then maybe do a presentation to the class. This method encourages discussion on how understanding these connections helps in seeing the bigger picture of the lesson. Remember, everything goes back to the scholar. The scholar needs to be doing the work. We need to facilitate the work. So making connections and thinking, it does in fact foster a deeper, more integrated understanding of the material. It enables learners to apply knowledge creatively and effectively across all content areas. Cognitive transfer of learning, this concept is crucial in education. It demonstrates how learning can be generalized and used beyond the initial learning environment. So the depth of understanding of the material is a factor that influences the transfer. So teach your scholars to think about their thinking, which is also known as metacognition. By understanding their own learning processes, scholars can better apply knowledge across different contexts. Another idea you could use here would be analogies and comparisons. That would allow them to link new concepts to prior knowledge as well. So this helps scholars make connections and transfer learning to new concepts. We need to truly empower our scholars. We must encourage them to connect their learning to real world contexts, actively participate in discussions, and draw upon their prior knowledge and experiences. So we want to prompt our scholars to think about how what they learn can be applied to other subjects or real life situations, such as understanding current events or making informed decisions as citizens. We need to know that our job is to ensure that each and every scholar learn at the grade level that they're in or higher. All scholars can learn, and we need to push them and encourage them to go deeper in their learning. So, why ask questions? Questions diagnose the understanding. It's a way of engaging them and keeping their attention, and it stimulates discussion along with creative and critical thinking. When you're developing questions for your lesson, it's so important to remember a few things. Does the question draw out and work with pre-existing understanding that the scholars may have? Will the question stimulate peer discussion? Because remember, we want that peer-to-peer interaction. And will the question cause other questions to be asked? Remember, a good question should promote a better question to being asked. So, teaching is a journey. You have to ask yourself, are you packed for the journey? Regardless of where you are on your teaching journey, this podcast is your go to resource for professional growth and instructional innovation. I hope you gained some insights and information about questions and the importance of them, because ultimately, what we want to do is have our scholars think critically. What we have for input, how they process the information, and what the final output is. So, thank you for joining me today. Please remember to join us next week for more insights into everything education in your classroom. Until then, let's continue to transform education for everyone, everywhere.